Oh, how I love this edition of Red Table Talk. Now, if you guys never see this show before, I want you to search it and take a look at it. It's three generations: Jada Pinkette Smith, Will Smith's wife, her mother, and her daughter. Three generations talking about all sorts of things. But I was mostly happy to see this episode where they took on the racial divide and prejudice that exists on both sides, both for whites and blacks. They're speaking about it from a woman perspective, but I think it could go for men and women, white and black. It speaks of a huge and consistent and still present prejudice that exists. So I want us to go through this and look at it, and let's react in real time. Now, I'll stop it from time to time and give my point of views, but I want you guys to comment on it. What you think about this right now? What are your thoughts about this particular episode dealing with white prejudice and black prejudice as well? Let's take a look.
Today, the red table is going to be popping, and it's because we are talking about a pretty intense subject matter.
There's a racial divide between women of color and white women. We don't talk about it much, but it's real and it's deep. Any comment about race, no matter how well-intentioned, can set off a firestorm which scares people away from even talking about the issue. Anne Hathaway was blasted for calling out white privilege after Nia Wilson, a black woman, was stabbed to death. Khloe Kardashian was criticized after her tweet, "In our household, we do not see color." And then there's statements that cut more deeply. Bette Midler had to apologize for an inappropriate tweet using the N-word to describe the plight of women. And Megyn Kelly's NBC show was swiftly canceled after she made racially offensive comments defending blackface Halloween costumes.
So this is going to be as unfiltered as possible.
Yes.
What were some of the differences you and I were having in regards to our discussion? I think it was the responsibility that I think that we as black women specifically, because I can only really talk about my experience, the responsibility that we have in regards to bridging this gap that I think that we have with white women. And I think that's that's where we were having our biggest disagreement. Yeah.
For me, I can't even, I don't know, I can't even get to that level of consciousness about it because mine is just so basic and raw. I remember growing up and not being able to go to downtown and try on hats and different places that we weren't allowed to go in our own neighborhood. We couldn't go to the bowling alley, and to get ice cream, we couldn't sit at the counter. It still bites. Yeah.
You know the funny thing about that? That's what a lot of people could never understand. A lot of white people could never understand, right? Again, we're being very open and raw, as I said about this. Now, a lot of white people could never understand the struggles of a black person and the anger that is inside of a white person. I had a friend, someone told me one time, but it never happened to you. It is far past. It's far generation past. But the thing about it is, it still exists. Because look at her situation, right? When she remember thinking about when she, not her grandparents, when she herself couldn't even go into a store because she was black. Now, she would grow up and forever hate that part of time, that point in time, because it affected her personally. So if she grew up with a prejudice against white people, you have to understand, because she felt she didn't have the privilege, whereas everybody else, all the other her white friends or white people in the neighborhood had that privilege. So you can't blame her for being prejudiced, her generation for being prejudiced, and never been able to forgive and always have that hatred and anger inside of her. You can't blame her. It happened to her. But listen, it gets deeper. Let's continue to watch. Interesting so far.
Yeah. I can remember working in white corporate America, and I was talking about remembering we couldn't go to Tiffany and try on, clothes. And one of my bosses said to me, "Yeah, now you can go and try them on and steal them."
Boom.
Yo. Yo, people are insensitive like that, eh? And they think that it's funny. And if you react to it in a certain way, like, why are you reacting like that? It was just a joke. Yo, it's a joke to you, but it is serious to some people. That is not even a joke to even make. I don't understand how people could feel like that this could make somebody feel better about their day or better about the situation. This coming from that place is a serious comment, and it's not considered a joke. So all my white friends, if you're ever thinking about making or saying something like that, hold back, because this is not funny. It's not funny to make that statement because it's a prejudice that we have. And just imagine in her situation, she went through the situation where she could not even go into stores and put on hats. In her lifetime, it happened to her, and it burns deep inside.
And I just have a lot of probably anger.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I have a lot of pain and hurt attached to some of the experiences that I've had as well. I remember going to Virginia Beach and the white police, remember when they had the riots? And
Right.
I was there by myself, terrified, trying to get back to my hotel. And I'll never forget these two white officers. I was like, I'm just trying to get down the street so I can get to my hotel. And they said, you better get your nigger bitch ass off this street right now. And that's specifically the white male experience versus what I've had specifically in regards to race with white females.
Yeah,
And
I
they're
don't
different.
separate it like that, though.
Oh, yeah, I do.
I get what you're saying because of the hurt and the tragedy and everything that has happened in our past, we have PTSD. If someone does something to me that hurts me deeply, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to make them feel how I felt.
Yeah.
I think what crushes me, and specifically in regards to my relationship with white women, the thing that really breaks my heart is that white women understand what it feels to be oppressed.
Because
And what
of their
it
sex.
feels to, exactly, because of their sex. What it feels to be ostracized or not being treated as an equal.
It's really difficult for me because we have white people in our family.
Well, I remember you telling me never let anybody know that. Do you remember that?
I
You
don't-
said don't. You said
No,
don't
no,
take
no.
pride in it.
No, what I said was, because I repeated what Mommy told me, was that you have to learn to get along with white people, but don't ever bring them home.
Was that why you had such a problem when I was dating John?
Absolutely.
I had a white boyfriend. He was really white. I mean, really white.
Absolutely. I didn't even give myself an opportunity to like John.
Very nice guy.
Just like I said, we have people in our family, and I've given those people a hard time. Like Jason is married to a white woman, and
But you want to know the funny thing? You want to know the funny thing about watching this, which is evidently true? In a way, you can't blame some white people for the way that they're acting as well. That's a very controversial thing to say, right? But let me tell you why. Now, a white person who grew up in a home that all they've been hearing for their life was that black people are like this. You don't need to associate yourself with black people. And all of this prejudice that you learned growing up as a white child, right? So when they get to the age of maturity and they have to make a decision, who to be around, who to hang with, who to be friends with, who to be in relationship with, they would revert back to what they learned as a child, as a kid. All the prejudice is going to come back in their head, right? So the racial overtone that exists amongst white people, 90%, a huge percentage of the time, is because what they learn as kids, and they just can't overcome it. Just like how Jada's mom, as a black woman, what happened to her as a child, she still can't overcome it. So she cannot overcome the hatred that she felt growing up when she couldn't go and buy the hats and try on the hats and stuff like that. A white person cannot overcome the hatred that they see and that they was taught as a child. So there comes the divide. There comes the problem. Boy, let's continue to watch. It gets more interesting.
And she will tell you, we gave her a hard time before. We didn't welcome her with open arms.
Right.
And she really had to prove herself.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, I feel bad about that.
Do you think Tiffany's husband, my cousin who she has a white husband, do you think
No.
Jason had to do the same thing?
I don't think so. And
Now, see, why is that?
Because Jason had a little bit more swag and he acted more black.
Wow.
And that's just real talk. Hey,
Listen, Gammy with the real talk.
I'm just saying.
But see, it's this huge gap between white women and black women because if
Yeah, okay.
historically, you would think that
I
bringing
would
a
have more-
white man into
Yeah,
the family
would
would be
be
more
more-
of an issue than a white woman.
Yeah, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying that this runs deeper than we even are conscious of.
Right.
Because we
And
embrace
there's
Jason.
not a lot of sense to it.
There's not a lot of sense to any of it, really.
I feel like we as women should know better. I really do. Because we're women, because of the struggles that we have as women, there should be a natural understanding and familiarity of our struggle.
Yeah.
And then to be part of creating more of a struggle
Yeah.
for another woman, to me, is
Yeah,
criminal.
Yeah, exactly.
I really do believe that this is an area that we have to examine because that's deep to me.
Mm-hmm.
That Jason was embraced more easily
Then Lexi.
than Lexi.
Let me
Real-
tell you. I saw this video, right? This movie, actually. You guys should go and take a look at it. It's called Thug. The Hate You Give. Yo, that movie, if you haven't yet seen that movie, take your kids, go and see that movie. And it shows a young girl and her struggles between where she lived and grew up and where she had to go to school. Now, where she lived is in a neighborhood where it's, it's gang violence. One of her friends got shot and killed. She was the eyewitness to that. Now, where she go to school, now she had to separate that part of her life. Her school was white people, so she had to change. She had to be like a different person. So she was too separate. She had to deal with her life being separate and different. One of the part of the movie which I thought was very interesting. So she eventually got a white boyfriend. And he said, I want to go home and meet your father. The many times she went in to meet her father watched him and say, thanks for coming. Thanks for dropping her home safe. So immediately her father thought that he was the limo driver, not thinking that he was her boyfriend. So you see the prejudice right there? There was an instant prejudice between the white kid taking his daughter home and he not even thinking, no, he possibly could be her boy. He didn't even think that could have been her boyfriend. He gave the guy a tip. Here's a tip. Here's a $20 tip. Thanks for taking her home on time. So you see, there is a lot of prejudice that exists between whites and black. And on both sides, it is bad because we as black people, we have a lot of things that we say about white people. Like, for instance, think about it. If your daughter were to come home with a white man, what would be your first reaction? Similarly, in a lot of cases, if a white person started to date a black man and he or she take them home, what would be that white family reaction? There is prejudice on both sides. Let's continue to look. It gets better. Let's continue to look.
Real talk.
Yeah. And now we love Lexi.
Of course we love Lexi. Yeah.
You know what? I found this quote. I'm gonna read it. Prejudice is the emotional commitment to ignorance. Prejudice is the emotional commitment to ignorance.
Well, I have to admit, I'm guilty
And I feel like I am too.
to that to a certain degree, because I do have my own biases,
I do
specifically
too.
with blonde women. Blonde hair on white women just triggers me, you know, and I've had
And
to
so
catch
did you
myself.
have a specific incident with someone who had blonde hair?
Absolutely, all throughout my childhood. I do remember experiencing being teased by white women in regards to my hair, how I looked, you
And
know,
I
feeling
have something-
belittled. And I was, you know, going to do an interview with this blonde woman. I thought twice about it. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah.
That was my first instinct because of how she looked.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, that's no different. That doesn't give me the right to clump all blonde women in one. And look at me, I got blonde hair.
And you see, a lot of people, black and white, they do the same thing. They may look at a person and not even know the person background or whatever. Yeah, he's black. All black people are like that. And we do it too. We might say, yeah, he's white. He's a racist or whatever. He's a Trump supporter because he's white. Not knowing that the truth and in fact is, he might be white, yes, but he could be a cool guy or a cool girl or someone that you could have a conversation with. But because of the prejudice that we have, right? Because of the prejudice that we have against a certain race, we clump everything together and say, yo, this whole race of people are like that. This whole sector of people are like this. You can't trust this set of people. It's like saying all Grenadians does eat oil down. Well, Grenadians love oil down. But I know a couple Grenadians that don't eat oil down. Like all Jamaicans like ackee and saltfish. Yeah, I have a friend. She's from Jamaica. She don't like ackee and saltfish. So you can't clump everybody in one bracket and say everybody is like this, everybody's like that. There's no formula that says everybody fall under the same category of things. Everybody is individual. Now, as a group of people, they may share the same ideology, yes, but everybody don't act the same way. Everybody, although may have the same background, don't act the same exact way. So both race is guilty for doing this. White people is guilty for putting the prejudice against all black people. Black people is prejudiced for putting this on all white people. And it's important that we understand the difference and similarities. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, me too.
But just because I had that specific experience, because it's no different than you getting robbed by a black guy once, and now you're saying all black dudes are thieves and dangerous.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying?
I have an issue because I feel like black women have been brainwashed into only accepting the European idea
Standard of beauty.
of what beauty is.
Yeah, the long straight hair.
Long straight hair, right? Now, you know, we can't have anything to ourselves that we can call our own because they're got all tanning booths. Now they're trying to get brown. They're putting injections
But
in
we
their
have
lips.
to realize
They're
And that is another important thing. We had a show recently that spoke to, you know, this lady came on the program and she bleaches herself, right? And everybody was on her saying, yo, you don't like your complexion, you don't like your race. And she was saying, nah, it's not because I don't like my race. She just want to turn up her skin or whatever the case might be. Now, is that a prejudice? Now, Spice, she have a song, a whole promotion out called Black Hypocrisy, where she actually showed the hypocrisy in our own black people. Because even our own black people, right, believe it or not, and I don't know if you guys are guilty of it, would look at another black person and say, yo, why are you so black? Why are you so black and ugly? Believe it or not, black people say that to other black people. On the train, there's a video right here. I'm going to share the link. On the train, another black woman having another conversation with another black woman. But because one might be American and the other one is African, one might be African American and the other one might be Caribbean, the African American saw herself in a higher prestige than the Caribbean. Tell her, go back to where you come from, go back to Africa. Now, here reveals the prejudice. So we cannot even love our own self. It don't even seem like we love our own damn self. It's like we hate our own people in our own community. Hence the reason why you have all this crab in the barrel syndrome. A black person just can't stand to see another black person emerge or start to move up the ladder or start to do things in life for themselves. Black people, we hate. And again, let me not say black people. Some black people. I don't want to put everybody into a bracket. I'm sure in other communities, there are a sector of people who does the same thing too. But in our community, in the black community, you find a lot of this, right? I say Indians, you see them Indians and them, you know, everybody living together in one home. And that's something I personally say I'm jealous about. They're like, why black people can't be like that? Why some black people can't be like that? Why can't we all just put our resources together and do things and build our communities? Instead, money is in our communities or stay in our community. Money in our community go out to other communities. So we can't build our own community. We don't have we have very few banks. We don't own no media organization. We have very few resources for our own. So we have to depend on somebody else. So if you're depending on somebody else all the time, as black people, you know, how could you build? How could you go forward? You have to depend everything wholly and solely on others. Listen, this discussion is a long, lengthy discussion that needed to be had. I hope you guys watching. I hope you guys sharing. Let's continue to watch.
Putting injections in their behinds, and we were ridiculed
No, I know.
for that for years.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I have such a difficult time with the feminist movement, why I don't call myself a feminist and I call myself a womanist instead,
Right.
because of the history
Of that
of the
word.
feminist movement, how the feminist movement began and how the DNA still exists and how it's still focused on really middle-class white women. I feel like a lot of white women feel like race is not an issue for them.
You know, that is so true. A lot of people white women don't see that race is an issue because a lot of times they never been through that struggle, right? And it's hard, as I said in the beginning, it's hard for someone who never been through a struggle to actually understand the struggle, right? If you never been through a tough time in your life, it's hard to imagine what it feels like to go through a tough time in your life. You understand?
I mean, well.
Really?
Yeah, that's my feeling.
Well, you know what? I haven't had this conversation with anybody white.
Maybe we should call Annie out. Where's Annie? Oh, we got a producer coming out. This is Annie. Annie's gonna come join us because she has a real opinion. Come on, Annie, sit down. This is real. This is good.
Hi.
Hey, Annie. This is great because Annie and I talk about this subject a lot off camera, and I wanted her to be part of this show, and she didn't want to, and now she's ended up being part of it anyway. Hit it, Annie.
I think the very first conversation you and I had about it was when we were sitting in the kitchen, and you said, I want to do a show about white women and women of color and how we need to come together and you know, be not just the feminist movement, but the womanist movement,
Right,
for sure,
right,
right?
right.
And my response to you was, you know, I'm a white woman, and I don't know if I have the tools.
Yeah.
I don't know what the tools are. And I don't know the how. I don't know the conversations. I don't know how to start the conversations. Because anytime I feel like I want to have a conversation about it, I'm afraid I'm going to offend somebody just by starting to talk.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to
that is
say
real.
the wrong thing.
Right.
I feel like I'm going to say the wrong thing.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation, because we need some tools too.
Yeah, I hear a lot of times that white women have privilege and they need to recognize that they have privilege, and I am sure I do. I just don't understand. I haven't had the experience to know when I'm having the privilege.
Right.
Instead of you having the privilege.
Right.
I don't understand when that's happening. So when will somebody say to me, you're having a lot of privilege right now? And
White people, black people feel that white people have that privilege because they don't go through the experience that black people go through. Like, for instance, I even heard of instances where even to get a loan, right? Even to get a loan, because of where you might live, the rules that would regulate getting a mortgage or a loan would be different than if you live in a different part of, say, Brooklyn. So that's a privilege because you have a better ability to get this, whatever it is, whether it's a mortgage or whether it's schooling or whatever it is, you have a better opportunity to get those things other than somebody else that live in a different part of the town. Let's talk about schooling. White privilege exists in schooling because a lot of black kids are not in the zones, right? So they may not be in a particular school zone. And because they're not in a particular school zone, the privilege is the people who live in that school zone got better privilege to go to that school and get better education. That's a privilege. So automatically, it's just a privilege by who you are. So it's not like somebody gonna say, okay, well, you have the privilege now, or you don't have the privilege. It's forever a privilege that we don't have. The privilege that a lot of, I'm sure a lot of white people don't have again, is the food that's in the area. If you go to a neighborhood like in Brooklyn, a Bed-Stuy or whatever the case might be, you drive down, what you see, a whole set of fried chicken and this chicken and all kind of stuff, Chinese, all kind of stuff that is not healthy for you. All this fried stuff. Now, you don't see a lot of fresh vegetable stands and all of this stuff in those neighborhoods. So the privilege is the people who live in those areas, they have to travel far distance to get some fresh fruits, which is good for their body, which is good for their health. Now, someone else, a white person, may live in neighborhoods where all the healthier stuff is there. Nobody will come and put no Keena's fried chicken in the middle of a white neighborhood. It's not going to happen. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. So that's a privilege. So it's an automatic privilege that it will forever exist, right? Getting pulled over by police all the time. You know what I mean? I always say sometimes if I want to get pulled over, I sometimes drive to a certain part in Brooklyn. I get pulled over all the time in Brooklyn. Trust me, I do. Why? I don't know. I don't know if a white person, if I was a white person, if I would have gotten pulled over so many times. So again, that's another privilege that you have. So it's an automatic privilege that white people have that some black people don't have. Guys, we're keeping the topic very open. Very, very open. All right? Let's continue to watch.
And I need you to understand my experience right now, too. And I don't understand the feeling of racism, but I don't know what to do about it.
Right.
I feel like a lot of times, like, trying to be friends or trying to reach out to women of color, sometimes I feel like they don't want to be my friend.
Do you feel like that is one of the gaps, is that we can't find that common ground to establish familiarity?
I think we don't go out of our way to just include each other.
There's a lot between us that we don't understand.
I think, we're always trying to figure out how to get into something real and authentic.
And you know what?
That's interesting because I'm never trying to figure that out.
Oh, really?
Never.
Wow.
Why?
I'm not interested.
Oh.
Now that might be what you might be feeling.
That's probably what I do feel. Gammy doesn't want to talk to me at the bowling alley, you know?
She say, hey, it's just our history. I can't let it go. I can't get by it.
Yeah.
I can't.
But
Listen,
I think
listen, you cannot blame the mother for not being able to let go of her history. You can't blame her. Same how, sometimes you can't blame some white people from letting go of their history that they have, the hatred that they have, because that's how they was brought up. That's what they know. It seems like seeing black as for some people, again, another controversial topic coming right in. Some white people see blacks as less than. Not all, some. They grew up feeling that way. Whoever taught them that, although it might be wrong, although it is wrong, because everybody, every person we have the same blood, we have the same, we're humans, all of this stuff. We are 99.999% alike, everybody. But some people grew up with that prejudice. And sometimes you can't even blame them, white or black. You can't blame them because that's what they know. That's what they learn. If you grow up eating this particular food, you grew up, that's what you know. That's what you love. It's hard for you to change my mind about the food that I eat, the way how I feel, the things that I plan to do, the music I listen to, the things that I love and I appreciate. You can't change people's mind about this certain things, right? That's a prejudice that exists and is deep. So you can't blame the mother for feeling the way, and you can't blame the white person for feeling the way either. It's a deep, 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 deep emotional, internal divide.
I think it's more than that. And the reason why
I need therapy.
I keep
Everybody
sticking
does.
you
Yeah,
about
honestly.
that is because of Jason and Lexi. There's something about the female
That's what got me thinking
dynamic.
about it.
I think there's something unique here in regards to why black women and white women have such a difficult time. There's something unique there that I don't even think we are conscious of. There's something specific in regards to women, our history, and how we still are relating to each other.
Even our black men have, to a certain extent, not all, but a lot of our black men have rejected us.
But that's something else. I think.
But you don't think that that affects how you feel about white women in general? Because I think it affects me.
But I don't think that's white women's fault. Now, I'm gonna be real about that.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
that black man is deciding to be with that
That's
white
true.
woman. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's not on her. That's not on her.
What she's talking about, it makes a lot of sense. Because a lot of time people say, yo, why this brother, all his life he dating black women. And as soon as he becomes successful in life, he started to date white women. Why? Is it the brother's fault? Or is it women, white women, just waiting for a brother to blow up, make a lot of money, and then grab the brother? Listen, it's whoever you choose to fall in love with. I believe it don't matter if the person is white, black, cream, purple, yellow, Indian. It doesn't matter. It's who you fall in love with. It's who you love, right? So it shouldn't be no difference. But she's touching on a very sensitive topic right there. You see that right there? She's touching on a serious, serious, serious topic. It go touch people the wrong way. People go feel away. Yeah, people go feel away. People go feel away. Let's watch it.
Just like if your man steps out on you and decides to have an affair, that ain't on her. That's on him. That's one thing I won't do. I'm tired of putting the blame of men's behavior on women.
somebody
And so
else,
I do
Yeah.
not believe in that.
Okay, so
if
we'll
he
take that off
decides
the
he wants
table.
to be with her, that's on him. I wish sometimes the world could have more compassion for black women. We really haven't had the luxury to have that more relaxed, not having to walk into the world with such an armor because of what we're still dealing with.
Yeah.
Having to be the only protectors of our home and of our children
Yeah.
because our men aren't around,
I have to like
Defend first.
Exactly. I have to defend
first.
myself.
And not ever being able to let that armor down.
Exactly.
I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me ask a question. What could I do? What can white women do to make this something that can be real? Because until it's really real and we all really feel it, nothing's going to change. And we, as women, are not going to move forward.
Bingo.
We all want you to like us.
You see that question right there? You see that question right there? That is a question. I go sit back and eat some popcorn and watch. I just want to watch that answer. I want to watch what the response is going to be. And I want to watch some of you guys' reaction too. Because by this time, a lot of people who are watching this started to be like, this guy, you don't know what the hell he's talking about, or yeah, he's making sense, or this whole thing is a pile of shit because of how you look at it. You don't want to touch on sensitive topics. Yeah? As I said earlier, this is something that goes so deep. Like I'm in a car, I'm driving. I might be driving some passengers or whatever the case might be. And they might say, okay, put on some R&B or rap or whatever. And then the music comes on and they start to sing and they start the nigga and they singing it, right? And they singing the song about nigga and nigga this and nigga that in the song, a white person, right? And I could just see in my eyes, in my rear view, that the other person is looking at the person like this, yo, the brother is black. You could just feel. So this question right here, I want to hear the answer. I will sit back with this for this one.
And this is one of the reasons why I said that this was going to be a really hard conversation for me, was because it was going to force me to examine my own way of thinking. It's really kind of my responsibility. It's not yours, because I have to be willing to open my mind and look at how my own thinking.
But both sides need to be open to doing that, because if both sides aren't open to doing that, then it's just a one-way street.
She's wondering what she can do for me. She can't do anything.
Exactly.
I have to decide first that I'm going to be willing, and to look at my own.
This is the thing I was talking.
Bingo. White people, you cannot do nothing to make a black person convinced that you're not racist. You cannot convince me. You cannot tell me, well, it was a long time ago. Well, I'm sorry. It just feels funny to me. So there's really nothing that you could do. It's for a black person to convince themselves. It's for a black person to say to themselves, yo, you know what? I'm not gonna feel offended by this. I'm not gonna feel a way about this situation. There is nothing that a white person could, me personally, right? I see situations sometimes where a white person is trying to, come at you or talk to you in a way or to friend up with you. And I'm friendly with everybody. And in my mind, I'm thinking, they're trying really hard because they probably don't have black friends, and I'm cool with everybody. I have a lot of white friends, but at the end of the day, there is nothing that a white person could do to make me feel less, or to make anybody feel, not me personally, because I don't have all this prejudice, but there's nothing that a white person could do to make another black person feel secure or feel like they're less racist towards them. So good answer right there. Let's keep it going.
Talking about how we, even as black women, have to be able to look at our biases that keep us from being able to kind of bridge the gap. Can we bring Jane out? Is Jane here?
For 50 years, Jane Elliott has been raging against racism.
I want every white person in this room who would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you. I want to know why you're so willing to accept it or to allow it to happen for others.
Jane was
Listen, some people can't put their foot in somebody else's shoe. They don't have the empathy to do that. They don't have the feeling to do that. They can't look at somebody's pain and feel the pain as well. It's difficult for them to do. It's a hard thing for them to do. I remember one time this guy got pulled over by the airport, and it was a video that went viral, and they started to arrest the guy. And you know what the guy started to say? Yo, you treating me like a black person. Why are you treating me like a black person? Yeah, he know. White people understand. They know the hurt, the hatred, the pain that a lot of black people go through. They don't want it for themselves. Who the hell would want it for themselves? Who the hell would want it to be mistreated? You send your kids to school, you don't even know if police is going to pull up on your kids and shoot your kid because he's a young kid walking the street with a hoodie. You don't know that. Who would want that? A white person wouldn't want that for themselves. Nobody would want that for themselves. But some people, they don't have the empathy to feel like, yo, this person, this whole race is going through this on a daily basis. I wouldn't want it for myself, and I wouldn't want it for anybody else. It is sometimes we feel that it's sometimes overlooked, and there is no empathy, there is no feeling towards another human being like that. This lady here, Jane, she been doing this for a lot of years. I remember I saw this video with the blue eye thing where she separated the kids, and she did a whole research on that. So she been working with race relations for a long time, and she continue to speak about it. She understands the level of ignorance that exists between the white people and how they are ignorant to the black lifestyle and a black person's whole livelihood. She understands. Let's take a look. Continue to look at the red table. Guys, I will share the link at the bottom here. I want you guys to watch the whole thing. The link at the bottom, it has no reaction from me. It's straight video. But this is the reaction. Check out Jane and what she was able to do. Just back in 1970s, she did that research.
Thrust into the national spotlight in 1968 with her revolutionary Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes exercise. She separated her third-grade students based on the color of their eyes, giving preferential treatment to one group over the other to teach them what discrimination feels like.
The blue-eyed people are the better people in this room. What happened, John?
Russell called me names and I hit him in the gut.
What's wrong with being called brown-eyed?
Oh, that's just the same way as other people call black people niggers.
That's the reason you hit him, John? I watched what had been marvelous, thoughtful children turn into nasty, discriminating little third graders.
The experiment was extremely controversial and a landmark moment in the study of race relations.
What I do looks brutal to white people because that isn't something they have to live with all day, every day.
Her no-holds-barred approach forces all of us to confront our own biases.
Come on over here and sit.
Hi,
in
Jane.
this chair, Jane.
Hi there.
Annie. Hi, so pleased to meet you.
What do you mean you don't know about being black? Can you read?
Yes, ma'am, I can read.
Then why aren't you?
Can I say one thing? This is absolutely fair because I saw a tattoo the other day that said, ignorance is a choice. And I said to myself, you know what? That's true. I am choosing to be ignorant. And you are right. I should be doing more homework.
Quit shooting.
Ignorant is a choice. So if you're watching white or black right now and you're watching this, ask yourself, why the hell are you ignorant? Why are you ignorant? If it's a choice. So you could choose to be ignorant or not ignorant, but you chose to be ignorant. Why? Is it because a lifelong just experience make you feel like you should be ignorant? Why are you ignorant if ignorant is a choice? You chose it.
On a shelf. It doesn't matter what you should do. What matters is what are you going to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, first of all, let me just say thank you for all the work that you
Yes.
do. You've been doing this a long time. So what do you think we need to do?
We need to stop believing the myth. In this country, what we call education is actually indoctrination. And it takes us from the ages of 5 to the age of 18 to thoroughly indoctrinate people so that they will believe in the myth of white superiority. And it is a myth.
Right.
Now, you can't do that while you're teaching that Columbus discovered America.
Right.
There were black people on this continent 4,000 years before Columbus was born.
Right.
We teach black history in the schools as if it started with slavery. I'm not a white woman. I'm a faded black person. My people move far from the equator. And that's...
Wow. She says she's not a white person, she's a faded black person. Talk to things, talk to things, talk to things.
the only reason my skin is lighter. That's all any white person is. Because our great... Hey...
Because there's no such thing as race. There's no such thing as race.
There's one race. There's one race, the human race. And then you all came from the same black women 300,000 to 500,000 years ago. The human race began with black women. My cousins, and you are all my cousins. Make no mistake about this. We are all 30th to 50th cousins because we all have the same black great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother back there 300,000 to 500,000 years ago. So get over the idea that you are white. There's one race.
Yeah. The human race.
The human race.
Bomba. Yo, that is, this says everything. This put everything into perspective. No more talking, just watching.
One race.
Now, will every person in this group who's biracial please stand?
Biracial.
Oh, I told you there's only one race.
Damn it, you got me.
And you too. How dare you? Didn't you listen to anything I said?
We were listening. It just takes a minute, Jane.
Let me ask you this. How long do you think the idea of race has been around?
Since the beginning of time?
That's just what I thought you were going to say. And you are just as wrong as you can be.
I was going to say since around the 1400s.
Right. It started with
The Spanish
the Spanish Inquisition. Before that, race was not
Spanish
a problem, but they found out that they were killing people who were of their religious belief, but they couldn't tell what their religion was by looking at them. So they had to find another way to identify those they were going to kill, so they set upon skin color. We have also been indoctrinated with the myth of white superiority. We've got pictures of the baby Jesus who looks like the little Pillsbury Doughboy. He didn't look like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
That's true.
And it says in the Bible that Jesus had kinky woolly hair and feet of bronze.
Yep.
Here's what you can do. You can educate yourself. The schools won't do it.
They won't.
They don't want you to know the truth. They can't afford to have blacks know the truth. But what you have to realize is, within 30 years, white people will have become a numerical minority in the United States of America. Now, blacks and people of other color groups have got to stop playing defense and start playing offense.
I think that part of what the responsibility that we as a black community need to take on is educating ourselves and preparing ourselves
absolutely.
for what's to come.
Absolutely. You need to educate yourself and your children before they go to school.
Exactly.
And when they come home from school spouting this crap that they've learned in school, then you need to take them inside and say, here, look at this. Here's what really happened.
Right.
There's one race, the human race, and that's the only race.
Right.
There are 2,500 different skin colors on the face of the earth.
Right.
If you can come up with 2,500 different names for races, you've got too much time on your hands.
Right.
You need to get a job. There's only one race on the face of the earth, the human race.
Got it.
That lady, this Jane lady, spoke a book. No, not a book. She spoke a library, a library complex. She put everything into perspective. Yeah, she did. She did. No, seriously. There is only one race, the human race. People are prejudiced because of their experience. just like they have an experience on the train situation, that a video that we have there, and the black woman was telling the Caribbean woman that, hey, why don't you go back where you come from? But the truth and the fact about it is, they both came from the same place, which is Africa, ultimately. So her complex is, she's an earlier immigrant. So she's an earlier immigrant, but that doesn't make her better than the Caribbean person who came a little bit after her. So everybody trying to be better or show themselves better than the other person, when in truth and in fact, we are all one race, the human race. You know, if we all really let that sink in for a little bit, she said that she is not white. She is a lighter skinned black person. I'm going to leave this right here, guys. Comment your thoughts at the bottom. Let me know what you think. This is some serious and very important conversation. Let me know what you guys think. Comment at the bottom. And continue to watch and continue to pay attention to this show, because this show, Red Table Talk, they touch on some serious issues. I'm going to paste the link at the bottom. Let me see if I can get the link. Yeah, I'll put the link in the comment section so you guys could watch it. So big up to Jada, big up to her mom, big up to her daughter for doing such a great job. Guys, go out there and check them out and stop the racists, stop the prejudice. Or you can't really stop the prejudice. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But understand, at the end of the day, there's only one race, the human race.